Kia ora te iwi and welcome to The Chew.
The Chew.
Where we kōrero about random kaupapa. Anei ahau ko taika maua ko Kori.
Kia ora.
Mātou ko Hud Rapata, coming at you from Kamuriwai in Arrowtown and via Streamlink here in Te Reo. And today whānau will be interviewing Hud Rapata.
Kia ora.
Who's from Cambridge, who has links to Ngāti Maniapoto, as well as Ngā Rauru, who's been down here in Tahuna for about 50 years, so, you know, a true blue local. So, hey, it's really awesome to have you on the Chew here, Hud.
Ai, kānui te pai. E hoa, it's good to be here.
Fantastic, and hey, you've had a really illustrious career and life, and really, really interesting by the sounds of it. And yeah, it's an honour and a privilege to have you on here. And you know, we might as well kick straight into it by handing the rākau over to you and getting straight into it.
Ai, kānui te mihi ki a koe taika, kia ora.
Awesome, bro. So, tell us about your childhood. Where were you born?
Well, bro, I was born in 1960 in Cambridge.
Cambridge.
Yeah, it was a fantastic year, obviously, with all the beautiful historical things that were happening at the time. So, yeah, born in Cambridge, raised there till I was probably... Yeah, in fact, we came down here in 1971.
Right.
To the South Island. Yep.
So you spent your early days at school up in Cambridge?
I did all of primary up at Cambridge
yep.
and 1 year at intermediate, Cambridge Intermediate. So, yeah, pretty much that primary section I did in Cambridge.
Right.
Yes.
And then your family moved down south, right? I understand that's how it went.
Correct, bro. I come from a family of 12. We had a lot of whānau as well, so there were 12 children, and I'm the third youngest. So by the time it got to me, I didn't go through all the the hardship that my older brothers and sisters went through. In fact. I can remember that we moved into a suburban home, Māori-built home by Māori Affairs by 1966, I think, 1966, 67. So, yeah, rather privileged in that way, but seen a lot of dysfunctional stuff too in terms of being a urban Māori, I guess.
Yeah.
It wasn't known as urban Māori back in those days, bro, but that's what we become, right?
Yeah, right.
So we had actually disenfranchised ourselves from Māoritanga right across the board. And that's because we were brought up in Christianity. Ratana Church was pretty the main thing that kept us together, our epicentre. We had no marae. In fact, 5 Macaulay Street was the epicentre of our place, is where we held our tangi, our hui. Everything to do with Māori was held at our house.
And that was your house where?
Yeah, it was in Leamington, Cambridge. Yep.
Wow.
Yep. That was our marae, bro. I did not know of a marae or kaumātua.
Wow.
In terms of those days when I was raised
Wow.
there. Yeah.
Man, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's quite different from both the bro and I. You know, we were brought up quite heavily around the marae and around our Māoritanga. But, you know, I guess you and I have had a very similar experience as young Māori where, you know, we quite enjoyed the other side, living the other side, the Pākehā life, if you like. So when you got down to Fairlie...
Yes.
So your I guess your dad came down for work. Is that what brought him down?
That's pretty much what made the shift down to the south. He worked in Taranaki on the Maui gas field for many years, probably a good 10 years before they got the contract in Twizel.
Yeah.
That certainly made the shift, and it was really difficult because if you could imagine. Although we weren't brought up traditionally, we were still tight as Māori because I didn't have any friends, bro. I only knew cousins.
Yeah, right.
You know, cousins after cousins after cousins. So it was quite a shift. I would think it wasn't for me, but for my mother, it certainly was.
Yeah.
Because my mother was the matriarch.
Yeah, right.
Of us in terms of where we come from. especially our traditional Māori ways. So yeah, it was a big shift, Corey.
So when your family moved down to Fairlie,
Yes.
how many of your siblings came with you?
There was myself and my 2 younger sisters.
Wow.
And 2 whānau children.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
that was the nucleus of our family when we came down south. Yes.
Right.
Yep.
And so tell us about your experiences as a Māori going to school in Fairlie. How was that?
Well, you know what? I guess I don't really have too many memories in terms of what it felt like. I knew that, in fact, you know, I've got to say straight up, it was actually a blessing that we'd moved away from such a dysfunctional way of life.
Interesting.
So for me, it was like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, right.
And I really only had my mother to rely on because my dad worked in Twizel, which is an hour and a half away.
Yeah.
So he would only come home in the weekend. So it was just my mother and I. And I wanted that time. I treasured that time with her because I was very close to her. But in terms of going to school and being immersed in a Pākehā culture, because there was only 2 families, myself and another family, the Kara family.
That were Māori.
Also from Cambridge.
Ah.
So there was only 3 Māori at school.
Okay.
My cousins, Pari, Ngāmari, and myself. But quite frankly, there was no difference for me, bro.
Yeah.
It was like...
So it was a good experience.
It was a fantastic experience, right through the whole deal of going there first, and we immersed ourselves in the community.
Yeah, right.
So we become country singers and all that sort of stuff, and that's how I got into playing music, etc.
Nice.
So it was a fantastic upbringing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so you spent a little bit of time schooling in Fairlie before you then moved to, was it Twizel?
Yeah, that's right. Couple of years in Fairlie, we had actually become really good friends with a lot of people in Fairlie.
Yep.
There was never once that I felt that I was any different. That's straight up.
Nice.
In fact, we had immersed ourselves so much that even today I've still got friends in Fairlie that go back into my childhood.
Nice.
And then of course after a couple of years, the reason we couldn't move to Twizel in the beginning is because they hadn't built the contractors' houses. They'd built the Ministry of Work houses, but they had no contracted houses. So anybody that was a contractor actually lived away out of Twizel.
Right.
And there were many contractors, bro. I mean, Baker's Construction was the largest earth-moving company in New Zealand at the time.
Right.
So, yeah.
And so eventually they built all these houses and everyone moved into Twizel.
Correct, bro. Yep.
Right.
So about 1975, we moved to Twizel.
Yeah.
And I did, 1973. So I did 2 years at Twizel High.
Yeah.
And finished at Twizel High and then, went into the workforce.
Cool. So straight into work. How old would you have been then?
Well, I basically left school. In fact, what happened in August of 75, we toured. I went to Fiji to play rugby.
Huh?
And it was a sort of like a under 16 team that we represented Fiji. We played in the Suva Festival.
Okay.
And we did that, and then I came home, and I just felt that school wasn't for me, bro.
Fair enough, bro.
It was like, hoha.
It's not for everyone.
So,
man.
it was like, either leave or you're going to get kicked out anyway. So I then started at the age of 15. I started work on the Twizel Dam. Yep. Yep.
So it's an interesting story about your working at the Twizel Dam at 15. My understanding was your parents didn't even know that you'd left school. Or...
That is correct. That is absolutely correct. So 1975, I got the ultimatum from school. And I'd work for my father after work. So I used to go and spot the big trucks back to the edge of the tip head and dump them off.
Yeah.
But there was no safety and there's no
health
and
and safety
and all that sort of stuff. So it is recorded that myself and Grant Woods, who went to school with me in Fairlie, were the youngest operators on that particular dam site at that particular time. There was no 15-year-olds.
Yeah, right.
So I'd entered into that, and I'd pretty much got a interview driving a S24 scraper. An S24 scraper, bro, carries about 24 yards. It's probably the largest earth mover carrier of the time. And so I rock up out there, and he goes, "Can you drive that thing?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course I can drive that thing." So I jumped on the scraper, bro, and I was heading up the road. Hello, and I see my old man coming the other way. I tried to put my head down, and next minute I just turned around, and I seen him turning his car around. So I pulled over, and he goes, okay, so we won't mention what he called me, but he asked me what the hell I was doing, why I wasn't at school for the starter. And did you know that you're too young to be driving these bloody things? And how did you get this job? At any rate, you go park that freaking thing up and come over and see me. So that was the day I started on the big machines, and then the old man put me back on the tip head, bro.
Oh, spotting.
Yeah. It's
nice one.
Quite funny.
Okay, so you spent a lot of your early life in your early adulthood in Twizel, where I understand you met your wife at the time, Donna.
Yeah, that's absolutely true, bro.
So tell us a little story about how Hud met Donna.
Oh my God. Okay, here's this beautiful wahine, just mulling around, and I always fancied her, bro. But oh no, she wouldn't even give me the time of day. It was like, get away from here. So she must have known at some stage that I was pursuing her, because once she'd left school, we met up in Timaru and ended up going to a nightclub together, and then found that there was something there.
Cool.
Bit of a chemistry going on there, bro.
Cool.
As you do.
As you do.
15-year-old.
Yeah.
And so we basically, I think about 16, 17 years old, we started going together.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. And so from Twizel, you moved to Timaru, was it?
Yeah, I did. In fact, I moved there for a couple of years, and I went into, I was grounded in earth moving, so I had those skill base to get to pick up a job anywhere, really, driving dozers.
Right.
Yeah.
And you eventually, as a family, you ended up in Invercargill.
Well, bro, I was only 17. I was still 17 when I got married.
Right.
And it all came about that Donna got pregnant.
Yeah.
We went home, told my mother and my father, and that was it. You're getting married, boy, and that's it. If you're going to have kids, you're going to get married. And it was all over for me anyway. And so we got married and we got married in Cambridge, and then we ended up in Omarama.
Right.
So that's where I worked on the power dam from where was Omatata back into Twizel. So Ohel Dam.
Yep.
And then you've got all those dams that work, along there. So I worked for NZED. And at that time I was married with 2 children, Trudy and Camila. And then basically after 2 years, we got a shift down to Invercargill. So we moved down there and become part of the Ministry of Works.
Nice.
Yeah.
So at that point, you spent quite a bit of time in Invercargill, right? So Invercargill, what were you doing down there when you first moved?
So I'd become part of basically the civil gang, which most Māori were part of.
Yeah.
But that's not to say that that's derogatory, because we were pretty much the leading personnel at the time. So we could operate anything.
Yeah.
Māori were just natural.
Yeah.
And to the point where we become overseers or gangers and transferred into those, low-key management roles. That's that. So I started with them. I got offered a position to study civil engineering.
Cool.
Because I was pretty good at what I was doing.
Yeah.
But I found, bro, I couldn't even bloody count to 10, let alone go civil engineering. So I hung that up, and I thought, well, hey, I looked at it and I could see that just about every position I was going to go for, I was going to hit the top. But sadly, bro, I had no education.
Right.
So it just wasn't, the pot just wasn't full.
Okay.
So once I realised that, I decided to go back to school at the age of 30.
Wow.
And I had 3 children by then. It just didn't happen, because in those days it was like I was one of the first candidates to actually go back to school as an adult student.
Right.
There were no adult students at that particular time.
Right.
So I got a scholarship, if you like, through the Norman Jones Foundation.
Wow.
and they sent me back to school. So I did 5th form, 6th form, 7th form, got UE in both economics, English, and I think I had level 2 or level 3 in music. Then I went to Polytech and studied economic and English.
Wow.
And business, yeah.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah.
Especially back in those days, like you say, adult students wouldn't have been that common.
No.
There's a stigma attached to
for sure.
to adults going back to school, especially at that age.
Well, I went back to high school, so I was at school with 15-year-olds and 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds, and not only that, Corey, in terms of maths, I was in cabbage maths. So that's what
the hell's cabbage math?
Cabbage maths is like when you can't even subtract or add, brother. So and it was humbling, but I didn't mind because it was a means to go somewhere. And the kids, I got on so well with the kids, bro. Like I even was playing in their first 15, and we just.
You played in their first 15.
I played in their first 15.
What do you mean?
Bro.
Were you allowed
at 30
to?
years old? Yeah.
You were allowed to.
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So, and of course, my daughter Trudy, she was at school with me.
Oh.
She was, I think she was about 12 or 13 years old.
That's crack up.
Yeah.
Bro, is that us, Taika? Should we go back to high school and play first 15 again?
Well, bro, that's what happened to me.
I can't keep up with the kids these days. That's for sure. They're all about 100 kgs and made of muscle. So
but we're the old dogs that know all the tricks, bro.
Yeah,
we know all the little dirty
yeah,
tactics.
Sure.
Yeah. Maybe the third 15.
Yeah. Oh well. So now interesting. I know a little bit about your story, bro, and so around the time that you decided to go back to school, there was something else that you felt like it was time, or you felt that you had a need to do as well, right?
Yes.
And that was to go to rehab.
Absolutely, brother. And how that happened was quite simply, once I decided to go back to school, I started doing courses to better myself.
Yeah.
And I did a couple of courses that found that, hey, I've actually got problems. In order for me to go forward, I have to go backwards.
Yeah.
And have a look at my life's journey in terms of why, I was drinking excessively and at that time into drugs as well, bro. So although it didn't impinge on me that it become dysfunctional in my family, it was certainly part of my family.
Right.
In terms of me being the husband and the father. So that really was a time, I think myself, it was a spiritual journey, bro. Like,
sure.
You don't just go back to school at 30 years old.
Yeah.
And, I think we're on about $98 a week in terms of student allowance.
Yeah.
So I had to work mahi after school.
Yeah.
And we didn't have a car at that time, bro. So I would be doing lawns and painting, etc., etc. But I had a bike. And it had a carry on it, and that's what I put all my gear on, and I'd go just about every day to try and make that, income, make it happen for us.
Yeah.
Because I was pretty much very, very staunch on making it through education. I knew then that education was the key for me to go further in my life.
Well, I have to give you a shout out, bro, because even by today's standards, it's difficult for people of their own volition to go back to school and admit that they need to go to rehab. Now, you did this back in the day. It takes a different kind of bravery to make those decisions, bro. Most of the time we get urged by family members to make those decisions, but it's. I have to give you a shout out, bro, because there's a level of bravery to take those steps because there's stigma attached to all of that.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Almost being a pioneer in those days of doing that,
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
One of the first people to be an adult student, because what sort of era are we talking about? Are we looking at sort of the late 70s, early 80s?
We're talking about the late 80s,
late
early
80s.
90s.
Yeah. And being an adult student in your 30s, which is unheard of, and then also admitting to go into rehab, which is also unheard of.
Yep.
And that's coming through a period where a lot of grown men played rugby. A lot of grown men would go to the club rooms and pretty much spend, all their wages and all their time down there. So, that's an absolute mega feat from you having to go through there and actually doing it. So,
kia ora, Tyke, kia ora. And you know what? The driving force was my family. Yeah. There's no doubt about it. Yeah. There's one thing about me is that I always believe that through my mother's nurturing is that I was destined to raise a family and do the very best for them. Yeah. And that meant going to rehab, not once, but twice, and continuing for the 25 years that it took me to actually get myself over the shit. Nice. I was going to do it. So it has huge stigma. Yeah. I'll just give you one very brief example. I remember Donna talking to her mother about me going back to school, and her mother's turned around to Donna and said, "What the hell's Huddy going back to school for? He's got 3 kids. He's got to be earning money. What the hell's he trying to prove? Who does he think he is?" I knew who I was, bro, and I knew that I could improve myself and do better for myself. So I did it. 3 years at 5th, 6th, 7th, and then 2 years at Polytech. Yeah.
Wicked, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, again.
And 2-3 month stints at Queen Mary Hospital in Hamner Springs. Now, Queen Mary Hospital was the actual, the creme de la creme, if you like, in terms of rehab.
Right.
It was the first time taha Māori was introduced to drug and alcohol counselling, and I was one of the first to go through that. So, in fact, they sent me to do taha Māori, but I refused because I had nothing to do with Māori. And they said, "Oh, you're doing taha Māori." I won't say what I said, bro. But
you can say it, bro.
I didn't end up doing taha Māori.
This isn't a children's show, bro. You can say whatever you like. But
the second time they said, and I knew it wasn't about my drug and alcohol. It was about the pretense of where I had come from that drove me to be so ugly in life, if you like. Yeah. So I knew that I had to do taha Māori. So I went back and did 3 months in taha Māori, and I completely immersed in it.
Wow.
And it was probably the most painful times of my life to be confronted and have to find an identity that it really didn't fit with me because of my earlier upbringing in terms of Māori.
Wow.
Because I heard about you guys later on in life that there were Māori kids that grew up around maraes. Yeah. I had no concept of that, bro. I did not know. I thought, how the hell can they grow up in a marae? How the hell can they grow up around people like, talking to them? So we completely just disenfranchised ourselves.
Well, you've done well, man.
Bro.
I mean, would that have been one of your earlier earlier steps back into your Māoritanga through that rehab?
No.
Oh yeah.
No, not really. It introduced me to the wairua tapu of things. But I was still intrinsically colonised.
Wow.
Yeah. So when I left there, bro, it was like, thank you very much. Yeah. And then just went straight back. World.
Yep. No, man, this is interesting. So, next along your journey, I understand you had and this is something dear to me as a Ngāti Porou man from the East Coast. Just throwing that in again, whānau. There's always a way I can wrap it back around.
Sure, bro.
But you worked very closely alongside and for Parekura Horomia.
I certainly did. And you know what? Just to sort of like preempt what's coming in terms of our finishing, that was probably the most wonderful time of my life in terms of finding out who I was, what capabilities I had, what people noticed about me in terms of what I had to offer.
Yep.
And it all come about Parekura Horomia. So I went back to school, and at this time I left school, I left Polytech, and I created a sports brand called Touch of Sportswear.
Okay.
And it was aimed at the touch fraternity.
Right.
And I got to speak on it at a marae, and Parekura's advisors were there. And they come up and said, "Oh man, you really need to come and meet us, and maybe we can get a meeting with Pare.
Yep.
And then you join us and become part of the CEG, which is the Community Employment Group for the Labour Department at that particular time."
Yeah.
So yeah, I just naturally went in there. I got the job.
Right.
I didn't get us through Pare. Pare never met me for about 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
After that. Then I got to meet Pare, come up, kia ora, chief. I always called everybody chief. Kia ora. Oh, kia ora. Yeah, so we took a liking to each other. And I guess as I got to know him, and in hindsight, he could see that I was a typical urban Māori shift type thing. I fitted the bill in terms of everything about colonisation, about urban. But he knew there was something in my heart. He told me, your heart's in the right place.
Yeah.
And I guess that's what he gravitated to.
Yeah.
And by that time, I was quite skillful in business, in terms of business planning. Business to me was never about the end goal in terms of money. Business to me was all about the hunt.
Ooh.
I was the hunter.
Wow.
So yeah,
that's interesting.
Yeah, and the reason being is because I never seen the kill as the end. I never seen the profit or the money side as the business. I always seen the knowledge, the experience, what you can gather in terms of skills was the ultimate tonga that one could have.
Right.
And yeah, so basically that's what happened. I then joined Pare in terms of, he actually took me away from Invercargill, and I worked with him in Wellington. So I become part of the auditing team, where we would go around and audit all the money that we CEG had given out. So each advisor was in charge of about $1 million. So, like how you have applications now, it was us that did the applications. But we would sit down with the communities, we would have key like-minded people, and then we would develop their ideas through to business plan, and then was orchestrated through us to get the money for them.
Right.
And then I become part of Parekura's Te Waiponamu Māori team, where we worked extensively prior to the actual return of the treaty settlement to Ngā Tahu.
Oh, okay.
So we were the catalyst that brought them all together. So that's why I know the genealogy of Ngā Tahu intrinsically. And I worked with Mark Solomon for many years. He's whānau. And worked with him along with the Pitama whānau, all those whānaus from Taika's
from
area.
Monuku.
Aye. So the Tikau family, all those prominent whānau, bro. And that's how I got to know their whakapapa. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So how long did you spend with working with Parekura?
I was there nearly 7 years, bro.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, I think I did three government sessions in terms of the turnaround.
Yeah. 2
with the Labour Department, 1 with the National Department.
Wow.
Yep.
Nice one. And so what made you move on to the next thing?
Bro, I'll tell you what, it was really quite simple. I was sick and tired of government changing the platforms or the landscape of how we're to move forward.
Right.
I become politically aware that we were the pawns that could be moved at any such time. And I think really, in hindsight now, I can see that politically it fitted in with them well. Because they could never, ever take us to success. They could never take us to a point or a pinnacle in life that we would become tino rangatiratanga. Because 3 years would come up, then the political parties would change. Then we would have to be off course and then run with them. Yeah. Or run this way, run that way.
Yeah.
I remember Pare said to me one day, he goes, Hud, he goes, hey, bro, I've got $20 million in the back pocket. We're going to go straight up the guts. This is what he said to me. Next minute, we're not going straight up the guts. We're going to the left. We're going to the right. But it's just the way it was. And that's what I got fed up with. So, in fact, I actually become quite sick. I become quite mamai about how we were being treated, and the more I become aware of what they were doing to us, the more I thought, nah, man, I'm out of here. I'm going to run my own tino rangatira course, and I'm going to go into business, and that's how I started.
Wow. And so you moved on from that. So you moved, well, you were back in Invercargill at this point, right?
Oh, yep, yeah, I'm back in there, yep.
And I understand that at that point you're one of the most energetic people that I know in terms of ideas and going and doing stuff, right? So I know a little bit about your story, but it's quite hard to keep up with because you do so many things, right? Let's start with you helped found what was it?
Murihuku 99.6 Iwi FM.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that basically it was a community based radio station, and it was Ngāi Tahu driven, if you like, all out of Murihuku. And we came together, such people as John Kahui, all those sorts of people, fantastic. I would say you would refer to him like Ned, you know, that balance in Māoritanga, etc. So yes, I worked very, very closely with Nan Bull. Now they are from out at Oraka Aparima. And so we come together.
Oraka Aparima is Riverton.
Aye. So we come together, created it, and then so it was 99.6 Iwi FM, right? Long before Tahu FM. So we created it, we developed it. I become the morning host for the
morning
show.
host.
Aye.
Whoa.
Yeah. So I did the breakfast show.
Ah.
And so we did that. I think we had that for eight months.
Yeah.
And then Ngāi Tahu called up and said that they were wanting to move Iwi FM to Christchurch, where it became Tahu FM.
Okay.
And in fact, one of the original people that was the technical person that worked with us to get all the technical assistance to make it happen, he's still mahin up there at Tahu FM. Yeah. So that's how it happened.
Very good.
Wow. Well, that's amazing. Actually, you might have to give me some pointers. I've had that as like a little bit of one of my dream jobs to do a little wee radio segment.
You'll do well too, brother. You'll do well.
Yeah, I'm thinking, how can I like start this one over here in Cromwell or over in Tahuna? You know, lighthearted. You know, something small.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I can help you there, my bro. No problem.
And the chew is our foot in the door to that. Well, just to get getting your face out there, Hika. So yeah. And so another little venture that you did, which is again, it's a bit different. It's not the kind of thing that most of us would go ahead and do. But I understand you opened up a bar or nightclub in Invercargill.
Yeah. Before I moved there, though, one of the most important things in my life is that I also started Tamariki Touch. Now, Tamariki Touch didn't exist, and why I did that is because my children and Māori children weren't getting the same opportunities as our Pākehā brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to find a platform where we could allow this sort of to happen. So, to cut a long story short, Tamariki Touch became Māori Touch New Zealand. And in fact, this is history. It's historic that we played in the World Cup as a Māori identity. Never, ever done before. We didn't play under the All Blacks or anything like that. We actually played under Māori Touch New Zealand. And we played in a World Cup.
Awesome.
There you go, my bro.
You're just the biggest trailblazer, bro.
Well,
you just can't stop trailblazing new paths.
Because I was incentivized by my children, bro.
Oh,
I just wanted to give them what I never had.
Love it, bro.
Yeah, true, bro.
Love it.
Yeah.
So how did you get into the nightclub scene?
Well, I made a conscious decision that economically I had to create something for myself. I just lost, I just finished with Pare.
Yeah.
And I was getting pretty good at business by then. So a guy, my mate, I think they were going to drive him out of town actually, bro, or kick him out of town. one or the other. And he came and see me and goes, "Oh, bro, I'm in trouble. Do you think you could take over the nightclub for me?" I mean, take over the nightclub. "Oh, bro, I'm so much in the shit. I've got to get out of here." And I said, "What's up then?" He said, "Oh, you got to put $10,000 down. You got to do this and you got to do that." And I thought, "Oh my God." Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. So that's how I got into it. He left town, and basically I just started the nightclub as a business to earn money. Yeah.
Cool.
And the nightclub was Saints and Sinners. And I
Which one are you, bro?
I was both at the time, bro. That's I couldn't quite fit, couldn't quite fit in the one or the other, but I did try my best.
I think, whānau, we all know which side of the fence he leans on, eh?
Yeah, bro. And we had a karaoke machine too, my bro, so that was me.
And is the building that it used to be installed there, is it still a bar? Is it pulled down?
Kia ora,
just for any of our new whānau, whereabouts in Invercargill is it located?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's in the main street, and if you were to go to Tuatara Backpackers, that used to be the Saints and Sinners Club. In fact, when you go in there now, you can actually still see remnants of the actual nightclub. So it was decked out as a Roman Empire. So we had the Sistine Chapel painted on. We had a bar as long as you could think. We had VIP rooms. We had water fountains in there. We could fit a capacity of 200 people. We had the disco jockey.
You had monkeys and white tigers, and
we had the disc jockey up in the ceiling, which was never seen unless you were in England or something like that. So we've stuck them up there. Wonderful. And then I basically turned the Saints and Sinners nightclub by day, Thursday and Friday, Saturday was nightclub, and then I turned it in from Monday to Thursday as a cafe. So I had it as a cafe as well. So that same cafe that I built is the cafe that they have at Tuatara Backpackers. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow, there's just so much going on. And so eventually at some point, bro, you made your way to Queenstown.
I did indeed.
So what was the trigger for that?
Well, bro, nightclubs are very demanding, unless you want to babysit people and they become intoxicated and want to, hit you over the head, I guess. You got to make some sort of movement out of there, right? So I just said to my mate, Lewis Crimp was his name. He's a multi-millionaire, bro. Very lovely man. He wasn't at the beginning because he was actually known as a racist in Invercargill. And but I got on well with him, and I seen him for what he was, and he seen me for what I was. So I said, "Oh, look, my missus has given me an ultimatum, bro. You got to get out of this nightclub, or him all over." Mm. So I said to Lewis, he's about 70 years old by this time, very, very refined, renowned man. And I said, if you could go back, Lewis, and, have the opportunity to have your wife and just make amends with that, what advice would you give me? He said, "Oh, well, Hud, you'll be going to Queenstown then," because that where Donna was. So I said, "Yeah, okay." So, packed up and headed up here.
Ah, nice one. Now, when you got here, so this is a story I never knew about, and it was awesome to have a bit of a chat to you about it. But apparently there was a Māori village in Arrowtown.
That's absolutely correct, bro.
So this was a business venture?
Yeah. Definitely. Definitely a business tourism venture.
Yep. And
it all came about... there was a handful of Māori back in those days. There was Charlie Leaf.
Yep.
There was John Hughes, myself, and Wayne.
Yep.
We were entrepreneurs back in those days. Charlie had an inroad into some property out here at Waterfall Park.
Yep.
Through a Chinese connection.
Yep.
The Chinese connection used to own Sherwood Manor.
Yep.
We then had a kōrero about it. We went out to Hakapā. We thought, man, can we build a Māori village here? And the whole environment, even the ambience was so beautiful. We said yes. So we then connected the dots, went up to Sherwood Manor, asked if we could lease the property, and that's how it all came about. So it comes from the whānau, the Wainui whānau from Invercargill,
yep.
Maruhuku.
Yep.
It was their whānau that helped us build. So we had a traditional whareas in terms of, our village.
Mm-hmm.
We had the restaurant, we had kapahaka, we had everything like that, bro. Yeah. So that's how it all come about. And yes, so that was about 2001.
Yep.
2002 that we got Hakapā. It was official. It's all documented. It's all historic.
Wow.
And it was one of the most beautiful shows you would ever imagine.
Wow.
We had a full complement of kapahaka. We had...
And where were the kapahaka people from?
Oh, yeah. No, that was a problem because there weren't too many here. Although we had a Māori restaurant here,
yeah,
that took a lot of our resources in terms of local Māori, working for them.
Yep.
So we got most of our people from Murihuku. Yeah.
Wow.
It was big. It was really big.
And
we
so,
would have probably 30, 40 people there a night.
Right.
7 days a week. And, yeah.
So you would like
absolutely
bust them up, or how would that work?
No,
or you just drove up?
Well, because Wayne and I worked in the tourism industry as tour drivers, we knew the industry very well. So we just connected the dots with companies to bring them into our show, and then it just all revolved. It just kept evolving. Yeah, it was pretty easy, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. And you did that for how long?
I would say we would have that close to 5 years.
Oh, yep.
Yeah.
And so, were you still there when it stopped running, or did you moved on by that stage?
I pretty much moved on. I was pretty much moved on. I always wonder, because it was very, very successful.
Yeah.
I always wondered why it never went past the milestone of 5 years. And I think really it came down to the strain of having very little resources here in terms of Māori. And, they bankrolled it as well, so they probably wouldn't have made anything back in the first 3 to 4 years.
The Wainui whānau.
Yeah, so it was a huge investment.
Yeah, I bet.
It was huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I was surprised to hear the story. I'd never heard of it. My understanding of that waterfall park is it's a Ngāi Tahu area of significance.
Right.
It might have been a mahinga kai, I believe. So it's an awesome. These kinds of stories you just never hear about.
Well, you're absolutely right. I don't know about what significance Ngāi Tahu had to it, but it was privately owned.
Yeah.
So therefore, we could privately do things.
Yeah, of course.
And that's the route we took.
Yeah.
Even though it was kaupapa Māori, it was still business.
Yeah.
And I can tell you right now, and this is not to whakahihi on any Ngāi Tahu or anything, but we could see that it was okay for Pākehā, Chinese, and every other ethnic person to set up business without having constraints.
Yeah.
And preemptions about who you are, what you are, and I always said this is about us. This is about us and our economy. This is about us as Māori. This is about our tino rangatiratanga.
Yeah.
So I did, for me, bro, I was probably able to do that because I was pretty arrogant in England at the same time.
I understand, bro.
Naive as.
I totally understand. There's a political dynamic to all things that we do as Māori, especially as it relates to mana whenua or tangata whenua, depending on what term you use. So yeah, and even me personally, I've only become aware of those political dynamics in the last sort of 5 to 10 years, but you have to navigate stuff, man. It's tough, and as much as we just want to go and do stuff, there's some things that we have to consider, and that's come to the forefront more nowadays. Back in those days, it was probably the normal way to do things, right? Nowadays, it's a little bit tougher, where you have to have a little bit more consultation, I suppose.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's sort of change tack for a little while. Just for this little portion, I'd like to ask you about your the time that you spent writing. So you have a passion for writing, right?
I have.
And I understand that you've even written a book.
I did. I wrote a book of a composition of 50-odd poems stemming from my whānau, my children, and what they meant to me in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And then I added some people that I had met on tour. So if you could imagine, I'd been on tour for 10 years. I met some of the most exclusive, well-to-do, pōhara people that would ever come here. People that had been, in jail and, mother and father killed in the Second World War, or the preemption to the World War. I met all those people. I've met CEOs. I've met, people that owned federal banks in America, both in America, Singapore. In fact, just very quickly, the guy that I'd become very close with, he was the grandson of William Ford. And him and I got very close together, and he said to me one day, Hud, what would you do if you had the opportunity to do anything for Māori? I said, I'd start my own bank. He said, okay then, you put a plan together and we'll put it together. That never came to fruition, but there was reasons for that. So yeah, it's been a wonderful journey.
Yeah. Yep. And so how the process for publishing your book, was it difficult?
Look, so basically what happened there is I'd become interested in writing, and I wrote that book probably over 5 or 6 months, and then I just researched how to actually publish a book. Then I went to a graphic designer. The graphic designer then helped me put it all together, all the legalities, etc., etc. And then I launched it in, 2010. And I launched it, I think I launched it at, it's at Kamana now, but it used to be another name, which I can't quite remember. And I would have had over 50 people there. Ned was there in terms of the band. I didn't know Ned very well. Craig Hubble was there. There was a whole range of people. And that was the day that we actually published.
Kia ora matua, Ned.
Kia ora, Craig. Brother. And the other thing is to... and like Craig said the other day when we were talking about it, there's never been anyone else that's actually published a book here in Queenstown. And what was significant for me, it wasn't about being big-headed. It was about showing my kids that if I can do it, you can do it. Don't ever think you can't do what everybody else does. And that was the essence behind that launching of that book. And then I went on to write a full-feature movie. And I'm in that now, Broken Glass, and it's a wonderful based movie. That's yet to be seen, though, bro.
That's all right. That's all right.
It chronologically stems from a Māori family that's been colonised, who works through the Great Depression.
Yeah.
Then they have some ties into the Second World War through the Māori Battalion.
Yeah.
Then, of course, the Great Urban Shift, and of course, back in those days, Twizel was the Muldoon's big thinking campaign. So it moves right through there, and then it incorporates all those historical moments within our history.
Yep.
From a Tutu point of view. Although the story's not true, but there were snippets that are.
Yeah,
and
right.
That's what I created the movie around. Yeah.
And okay, so talking about your movie script, bro.
Yes.
You have a main character in there?
I do have a main character.
Yep.
The main character is based on a young child who whakapapa back to some of the paramount chiefs at the time. In particular, and this is historical, the tupuna who did the encircling of the land, which was called the Amu Whenua, where he encircled the land from Taranaki down into your area, bro, down into Gisborne, into Wellington,
Gisborne,
and then up into Taranaki, and then of course
Taranaki, bro.
So that's basically what the story was there. But just very, very quickly, it's a retrospective story, so it's been narrated.
Yeah.
So the main character is 40 years old.
Yeah.
And he is a writer producer at this particular time.
Yeah.
So he then writes the story, but it's all based around this young child, and that grows up to become this super duper person.
Awesome. Well, I'll be keeping an eye on the progress of your script, bro, and hopefully you can get it over the line, and we'll see something come out of it.
Well, I've been writing for 20 years, bro. And yeah. Yeah, let's hope, eh?
Yeah.
Let's hope. Whatever. What will be, my bro.
Yeah. The last
Yeah.
thing, one of the last subjects here, I just want to touch on your business acumen, and more recently the project that you've created called Te Mana Rangatahi Rakahinunga.
Ai, te mana rangatira, te rakahingunga entrepreneurial, yeah.
Right. So just give us a quick rundown about what that program is.
Basically, it is just a platform where Māori want to go into business.
Mm-hmm.
They will come to us. We will then help them through their business plan or create their business plan.
Yep.
And then we add all the professional services to it.
Yep.
The accountancy side, etc., etc. So what they get is a full developed business plan
Yep.
at the end of it. And then we have collaborated with Mountain Club, which have 137 Queenstown businesses.
Shout out to the Mountain
Aye,
Club.
shout out to the Mountain Club. Kia ora, Paddy. And so basically they're mentoring us, giving us all that expertise for nothing. And also they will also look at being an equity provider.
Great.
So you can front up with your business plan.
Yeah.
Go and see the boys. If it's valid,
Yeah.
then they will look at helping you for yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So
about,
now, probably one of the more important ones, and sorry we left it till late, but your Te Reo Journey. So you've recently, jumped back on the waka into learning Te Reo.
Aye.
So tell us a little bit about your Reo journey. Maybe touch on the early days and focus more on where you're at now.
Oh, tēnā koe kore. Ka nui te mihi ki a koe.
Kia ora.
Yes. Well,
Was language always a focus for you, or not really?
nothing Māori was focused for me, bro. I'll just be straight up.
Yeah.
I was raised in a very dysfunctional, violent environment.
Yep.
So the Māori that I knew and the Māori you know and Taika know is not the Māori I know.
Right.
So I come from the once were warriors background in terms of that established urban Māori thing.
Yep.
So no, look, quite frankly, Māori to me I was ashamed.
Yeah.
As
fair
I
enough.
grew and as I developed and I could see the contradictory nature of what they were trying to give us and their examples of what they were displaying never met with me consciously, bro.
Ooh.
Never. It never met. So I grew up with those patterns. Even to the point I would not go to tangis.
Yep.
I would not even sit near a front seat.
Yep.
I was so whakama, bro, that it could have been my best friend or my auntie.
Yeah.
If I didn't go in with the group, I wouldn't go in at all.
Yeah.
So I deprived myself of everything that there was beautiful about being Māori.
Look, sorry to interrupt you, bro, but some of us have been through elements of that anyway. So me personally, I can understand your whakaaro with how you feel about back in the day. Mine probably wasn't to the degree of yours, but I had elements of those feelings when I was younger too. So, your experience and your story is not uncommon.
No.
Yeah.
No, gosh, no, not for my age anyway.
Yep.
Not for my generation. But, I want to reiterate here is that there was good reason that my family took us away from Māori.
Mm-hmm.
Because my particular family whakapapa back to Kahununu, Raukawa, Rereahu, Maniapoto. And my great-great-grandfather is he was the direct paramount chief of Ngāti Maniapoto at the time.
Right.
So they grew up knowing what had happened in the past. And they made a conscious shift to come away from Māoridom and go into Christianity. So it was Christianity that became part of my life, not Māoridom. But that was because they actually went through it, Corey. They actually experienced that makutu and all those sorts of things. And that's why they delivered us out of there.
Yeah.
They took us out of there.
Yeah.
They delivered us into a place where we would never be hurt.
Yeah, understand.
Yeah, beautiful. I mean, beautiful kōrero, bro. I mean,
Yeah.
You know.
Well, let's sort of move into your decision to go back to learning your
for
reo.
sure. It's really quick and simple, bro. It was you.
Oh,
Yeah. When the kids
Okay.
asked me to
Caught
meet
me
you,
up.
bro, and I could just tell that I think this guy's going to be okay. He's not going to expect too much of me, and he's not going to put me into a paralysing position where I'm going to be so whakama and embarrassed about I can't even say kia ora. But when I realised that, and the way you were teaching, you know, kōrero tia, it was almost like te oho ake, an awakening.
Yeah.
That took place.
Yeah.
And I've felt comfortable with that. So yeah, and like I say, you know, ka nui te aroha ki a koe o ngā te
Kia
reo
ora.
o ngā whānau ahau.
Ah, kia ora, bro. Kia ora.
Where you really have opened our world to te ao Māori, to te reo Māori, and I can see why. You know, you have beautiful people like Taika and all this beautiful Ngā Manu Hou. I mean, goodness me, bro. Why would you not be a part of it
Yeah.
and be comfortable? So that's how it all happened. I'm really like I'm still what I have done now in terms of emphasising where you've brought me to is that I whakapapa. I have a special time in the morning between 8 and 9 where I'll do nothing else but my whakapapa.
Oh,
So
ka pai.
I will recite my whakapapa.
Oh, ka
From
pai.
kakati right through to me today and my 10 mokopuna that I have, bro.
Oh, ka pai.
So yeah, so that's what I'm doing every day.
Awesome.
And every day I add a prayer or karakia. Yeah, I don't understand it, bro,
Yep.
but at least it's making me kōrero. It's making me learn how to speak.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's where I'm at, bro.
Well, thank you. You know, ka nui te mihi ki a koe I o kupu tautoko, tautoko mai. So I just want to give a bit of a shout out to two of your daughters, to Carmela and to Maria, because it was through them that we eventually met, that we connected.
Right.
It's through all of the awesome work that your daughters are doing. They're doing such great work in the community, through Kuma, through Chicken, and I can see that their want to learn their Māoritanga is strong in both of them.
Yes.
Yeah. And through that, you know, there's the connection that I've made through you, to yourself, to Donna, and you guys are now integrated into part of our group, all of you, you know.
Kia ora, bro.
It'd be cool to see you at some of our waiata practice, bro.
Who, me?
And your daughters. There's
For
been
sure.
lots of promises over the months.
Just waiting.
Just waiting for those kanohi to show up.
Yeah, that's it, bro. Chuma, bro, I hear you loud and clear.
No, I'm just kidding, bro. But no, it's really has been an awesome. It's been awesome to be a part of your journey into learning te reo, teaching te reo. We get on so well, much like me and Taika, you and
kia
I. We can just laugh for ages about some
years.
really silly things and experiences we've had as young Māori. So. You've certainly added lots to my life as well, and a part of the inclusiveness that's brought us all together, especially as Māori in this region. You know, it's important to make those connections. But now, what I'd like to do is hand over to Taika, and
Kia ora, Taik.
yeah, I believe
Kia ora.
Taika's got a few questions for you, bro.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so we have some quick fire questions that we try and fire out to everyone we interview. But before we get into that, I just wanted to also say, Hud, you know, you've been trailblazing, you know, for years and years to years across all of Aotearoa, you know, which is pretty amazing. And I suppose what I found is that you overcame so many challenges, you know, you put yourself out there. A lot of Māori people have that whakama that's a very heavy burden on them to do anything to get out of their comfort circle. Because, you know, a lot of us can just take the easy route, you know. And, you know, stay with our whānau, not try and put ourselves out there, not really unleash our full potential, which sounds like you've done through your life and your career. but out of all of those challenges that you overcame, going from the North Island down to the South Island and into new spaces, through your addictions to trailblazing, new business adventures, that actually the hardest challenge for you, it sounded like, was that whakamā that a lot of Māori people carry, to get into that, to connect with their culture again. And that's so true. That's so true. A lot of people don't understand how heavy and hard and challenging that whakamā is, no matter how strong or how successful or what you've been through in your life. That whakamā can just, be such a massive burden on people, can't it? And it's really good to see you've overcome that challenge, which sounds like one of your biggest challenges.
Yeah, kia ora,
and and it's I'm stoked just to hear that you're sort of back on that waka now with your family, and Maria and Carmela that I've met quite recently. They definitely have your energy and your ambition.
Yeah, definitely.
And that definitely shows in the careers they are trailblazing now.
Aye.
And it's been awesome just hearing the millions of things you've done over your lifespan, and unfortunately we've only got a short period to cover it all.
Bro. Yeah. Part two's coming in the future, bro.
Aye. But other than that, thanks for giving us an insight into your life and your career, and there'll definitely be a part two coming up. So let's fire straight into these.
Let's go.
Quick fire questions. So the first one is one piece of advice you would give your 21-year-old self. So you could go back to talk to Hud when he was 21. What piece of advice would you give him?
I'd say first and foremost, talk to a kaumātua and a queer, and get some balance in terms of what it is to be Māori first, and what it was like for us to be Māori. That is what I would say to that 21-year-old boy.
Kia ora.
Oh, kia ora. I totally agree with that. Yeah, if I could go back and talk to some kaumātua,
kia ora, bro.
Not with us, and collect some of their stories.
Sure.
Next is, what was your favourite age?
My favourite age has got to be 30, bro. It was a time where it determined whether or not I was going to keep pretending to live life the way I thought possible, or to make a real change in life and become somebody that my family could love and be an example for.
And it sounded like that was probably the shifting or turning point in your life.
Absolutely, yep.
Yeah. And the next one, we've got one quote, mantra, wakatoki, or saying that you like to try and live by.
Kia ora, bro. This is a special one to me. I always say, you know what you know, but you don't know what you don't know. And the power is in with what you don't know. Kia ora.
Aye.
Kia ora.
Kia ora. Kia ora.
Ooh, that's deep,
next one, favourite place in the world.
Favourite place in the world? Queenstown.
Well, that was hard.
Well, you've been around the motu, so
Aye.
yeah. I could probably say mine's Queenstown at KFC, actually. So
Kia ora, brother.
If there was 3 people you could invite for dinner, who would they be and why? Any 3 people.
Well, definitely, if I could, I would invite my mother, my father, and my grandmother.
Awesome.
Too easy.
Yeah. What would you cook them?
I would cook them. Probably a bull pot, bro. And then followed by rotten corn. All the things we grew up with, all the things they shoved in my face, bro. I'll put them right back at them.
Okay.
And I didn't enjoy too much of it either, my bro. But yeah, no, that's what I would do. Yep.
Kangapiro. Oh my God.
Kangapiro, yep.
And last but not least, which is probably a good way to round this interview out, is what does the future hold for Hud Rapata?
Ai, kia ora. I'm looking at the future with very, very bright eyes and a smile upon my face, filled with love and gratitude that I have such a vast experience in terms of who I am. I've remained I've remained earthly about it. It's no big deal to do anything that I've done. It's part of life. And to think that I now have got, someone in my life that maybe want to share that with me, I don't know, but we won't go too far into that. But hey, I'm hoping. Yeah, bro.
Awesome.
What else does the future hold for you? Hopefully we can get this movie up and running.
Oh, kia ora, Tyke.
So, Tā Peter Jackson out there, or
kia ora.
Taika Waititi, if you
Well,
want to come back.
It's funny you should say that, Taika, because the actual film from Cody, or Korako, when he's 40 years old, gets passed to Taika, the director. So there you go, my bro. Does that give you any insight where I got you? Kia ora, thank you very much, my bro.
Well, if he needs a 40-year-old, to jump in there,
bro. I do,
extra,
I do, my bro.
I can't promise anything. I'm good at acting up at home, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's it. No, it's been lovely. It's been really, really good. Cool. Tēnā korua.
And if you got any koro parts in your movie, I'll be a koro. Thanks, bro.
Kia ora, bro.
But other than that, Matua, he maunga nui te mihi kia koe te rangatira. You're definitely a mentor for young Māori or people in general, of this generation.
Yes.
You've done lots in your life and you've succeeded pretty much through most of them. You're such, a real humble, genuine person. You've always got a laugh. So it's been an honour and a privilege to have you on the show. So, all the best for the movie and future endeavours.
Oh, thank you, Taika. It's been an honour and a privilege to be with you guys. Thank you.
Oh boy. Well, over to you, Hika. You wanna close this up?
Yeah, I guess if I have a whakatauki for today, I guess I would say something like he kōtuku re ringa tahi. Yep, the kōtuku only flies once, or the single flight of the kōtuku, meaning this podcast is very important because of your presence here. E te kōtuku. So, kia ora.
Kia ora, bro.
Kia ora. So for all our listeners or people watching out there, give us a like this page, subscribe, get into the comments below. If you've got any questions for Hud, we can go out there and get him back for a second session if you've got any specific questions for him. Other than that, whānau, thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time. Mā te wā.
Mā te wā.